how much time is too much time? And at what point does it become like, we're just maybe not going to have the same relationship, if any relationship?
This is the I'm Uncomfortable podcast, the podcast for people who want to be okay with being uncomfortable. We're your hosts, Vanessa
and Melissa.
Welcome back to the I'm Uncomfortable podcast, where we like to push ourselves and you to be uncomfortable, but all for the growth that you truly seek. And as always, we kick it off by sharing our uncomfortable moments. And moments before we pressed record, Melissa asked if I was ready to share my uncomfortable moment, and I responded with a very emphatic yes, because I actually called you, Melissa, the other night.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I literally called because I was so uncomfortable and I couldn't hold it in my body. I was like, I can't wait until we record. I have to call her. I have to tell her what happened. So
and then I missed that. I missed that call. So you were forced to.
I did. I was forced to hold it. And I think I even called one other person, and then I ended up talking to Ross about it. And I was like, least preferred person to speak to about my uncomfortable moments.
Least preferred. You're on the call list.
He ended up talking me down. And I was like, okay, maybe I should have just called you second, at least, if not.
Oh, so he wasn't even home. So he was.
No, I was. You had to call okay, so let me give you some context. Okay, I have so many uncomfortable moments. I had to get my hair braided. My coworker was lovely enough to do it, so I wore cornrows to school.
I did see that picture you sent me.
Yep. But the kids were really supportive. They were like, I love your braids. And I was like, oh, thanks, you guys. And Melissa was wonderful enough to send me some flowers. She sleuthed, she said, to find my address.
Yes, I did. I know that Vanessa had moved in the beginning of the year, and we have a shared Canva account for this podcast, and I know she made an invitation for her birthday earlier this year, and I was like, I'm pretty sure the address was on there, and I wanted to send her flowers for her performance that she was doing, so I stalked, really, that's the term I should be using.
It's genius what you did.
That was the second pathway to get your address. The first pathway is, I know we share a location with each other, so I zoomed to try and see if I could see the cross streets. And
That's so funny.
Yeah, because I didn't want to tell you. I didn't want to tell you because it's, takes away from the surprise. But
yeah, anyways. I was very surprised. I was like crying. I was like, my friend loves me. Carmen Sandiego over here, detective. And then so I had the performance, right? But before that, on Thursday was a practice for the performance. And one of the guys in my troupe, he came up, like he was coming in, he said hello. And I was like, oh, hi. And he was like, oh, I heard you were a principal. I never would have expected that.
Yeah.
And I had this moment where I was like, why are people talking about me? And what are they saying about me? Because this is the second time. So the first time, it was like a month or so ago. We were at a practice. I was bringing one of the girls home. And she was like, oh, I heard you have a podcast. And I was like, what? From who? How? Mind you, our ads, I guess, come up organically for some people.
Yeah.
Because one of my coworkers was like, hey, I saw you pop up on my TikTok. And I was like, what? Because I don't make TikToks,
yeah,
but I do in the sense that we do anyways. Yeah. So then this is my second time, and I was like, wait, like, are people talking about me behind my back? Like, what are they saying? Do they not like me? Like, I went whole like weird
the negative
spiral. Yes, for like, why? And then Ross was like, haven't you ever made a comment about someone before that was neutral? I was like, I guess.
Yeah.
Like.
And that reminds me of, there's a podcast that I enjoy, hosted by Amy Poehler. It's called Good Hang with Amy Poehler. And the first segment that they always do is before she has her guest on, she has another like mini guest, and they call that segment Talking Well Behind Somebody's Back before bringing. So they talk about that guest behind their back, but in a nice positive way, or like a neutral way, like Ross was saying. It's like,
and it's true. Like, I have talked about people behind their back for good things.
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't always need to be
neutral.
Negative. Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, did you hear so-and-so was a principal? Oh, that's crazy. Like, then I understand, like, why that would have come up. You know what I mean? Like, but my first thought was,
why are you talking about me?
Why are you talking about me? And I don't know why my brain is so hardwired to think that, like, if anyone ever hears anything about you behind your back, it's always bad. Actually, as I'm saying it, it's giving Evelyn. Yep. Okay.
Well, we identified where that came from.
Yeah, real fast. I therapized myself.
The difference here is, why are they talking about me, or why are they talking about me? You know what I mean? Like, that's like the
right mindset shift. Why are they talking about me? You're right, though. I think my mom, with her experience, has always been negative. Or perceived to be. I don't know.
Perceived.
I don't know her reality.
Tita Evelyn is in her own
Who's to
reality.
say? But anyway, I mean, it's so deeply uncomfortable, though, that I had to literally call. I couldn't handle it.
To just
And it
kind of
was-
like share it was one of those times for you probably where it's like, am I crazy for thinking this? Or like, can
Yeah.
you validate? You just needed to validate the feelings.
I just like get it out of
Yeah.
like being worried that people were talking about me, because this is only my second year and I'm making more friends and it's like way more fun now, and I knew
Yeah.
what to expect this year. It was like crazy last year.
Yeah.
And I've also just been very like stressed. So I was like, I can't handle people being mean to me right now. I will fall apart immediately.
Please do not bully me. I am
This
a
is my safe
sensitive
space.
baby.
I'm just a baby. I'm just a sensitive baby. And I feel like I'm actually really shy. Like with hula and stuff, I've been more shy because they all know each other,
Yeah.
and it was hard to remember names in the beginning, and I felt like there was no formal, everyone go in a circle, say their name, introduction
So
process.
it's kind of like
know?
you were put into the deep end last year. And last year, I was at your performance last year, and it was a huge performance. It's like the anniversary,
Yeah.
30 years or something like that you were telling me. So to be a newbie and to be going through that process as a
just
new
kind of-
person, it's a lot. Yeah, I can. You're much braver than I.
Thank you. I think I will wash my hair out today finally, and it's been fun, but I'm ready. I'm ready to relax.
I had a chaotic week as well. It was just so funny because we were supposed to record this that past week, and I was like, Vanessa, can we reschedule? And she's like, yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Literally one word answers though. Like I couldn't handle responding fully and also being
And I
at
saw
work.
those responses, and I was like, yeah, okay, got it. I don't even need the addition.
Literally one was ya. Y-A. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know if this chaotic week has anything to do with my uncomfortable moment, but probably because everything's kind of connected. You can't really tell, but
I
I'm
can tell.
breaking out. There's some here that you can't really tell, but
Me so rude. I could tell. I could tell.
I just caught that.
Well, when you brought it much closer to the camera
Everyone
and
bear
pointed at
witness
it.
to
Yeah.
my chin because usually I don't want to bring attention, but because it's my uncomfortable moment.
Attention.
But I think, well, I know that my chin area is my problem area. Every month, hormonal acne type of flare-ups. I am lucky that I haven't had like really bad acne in my journey as a woman thus far. And so I'm very grateful for that. But I know that my problem areas has always been my chin and sometimes like on my brow area. And it turns out that's all hormonal areas where people would tend to get flare-ups is on the brow and on the chin and along the jawline. And so I have over the past year been really like, you're like, oh no.
Now I'm like touching my chin. Like,
That's the thing. Don't touch your chin. I always do this. I'm always like, when I'm
You do
listening at
always do
meetings
that,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
or whatever, I'm always touching this
You're a
area, which
chin
doesn't
listener.
help. But I think the uncomfortable part of it all is that I feel like every month my skin tends to feel like more sensitive during that time of the month or like leading up to it. And I always know to expect it. And so what I've been trying to do is kind of identify what products are contributing to maybe it feeling more inflamed than usual. And like I felt this one coming and I was like, I'm going to try to prevent it, like put a little pimple patch,
yeah.
do the extra skincare, extra exfoliation. She wanted to come out and play this week. So you know what? Probably the stress added to it. But I think the part two of the uncomfortable part of this, well, one is getting the pimple, but also in breaking out in general as a 33-year-old. Oh my God, I had to think about how old I was. 33-year-old individual.
To the other day.
But I ended up deciding that I wanted to purchase some products that I haven't purchased in the past 2 years because they are expensive products, but I know they work well. I don't know if anyone is familiar with IS Clinical, the brand, but their freaking serums are amazing. And
Do you have one?
I don't have it because it's still in the mail
boo.
on my way to me, but I could share it at a later time.
What's it called?
But IS Clinical Active Serum.
IS Clinical Active Serum.
And I first, and this is not sponsored, I wish, but I first used it and purchased it when my esthetician that I would go get facials from, and still do, recommended it. And I bought one little bottle.
Oh my God, it's $140.
Yeah, I know. And that's like today's pricing. The last time I bought it was like 3 or 4 years ago. It wasn't that much. So prices just went up. But when I tell you that I made that one little bottle last a full year.
Yeah. Wait,
And it still was fine. Like
for
I
what
didn't,
though? For acne or just like?
just yeah, to just tie into my routine. So like I cleanse, tone, and then serum, and then a moisturizer. I just remember holding on to or using every last drop of that. And when I quit my job and was working part-time, I was like, I cannot indulge in these skincare products. But now that I am back with a big girl job, I was like, okay, with this happening and me, going here and there with my job, traveling about, there's more stresses, and I think I deserve to treat myself. So I bought not only that serum, but I also bought what they call is like the cooling serum. I also bought that. And so if that one serum was $140, the other one was similar too. So I was like, it hurt my soul a little bit. It was uncomfortable for me to purchase that, but I gotta do it.
Gotta do it.
Yeah. Anyways, that was my skincare journey, uncomfortable story.
I have a funny story for you. When I was younger, I think I did struggle with a lot more acne issues. And this is really fucked up, but like one time I went with this girl. We used to be really close friends like back in the day. You'll remember her, the one that was causing lots of problems in my debut, being like,
Yeah,
I know
flirty,
who you're talking about. Yeah. Okay, well, when we were younger, I went with her and her family to New York to visit like her family over there. Mm-hmm. And I remember I had this like orange tube of, I don't even know what the brand was, but the product was like an acne like spot fixer thingy. And I don't know what possessed me, but that summer, maybe I just had the time in my little adolescent life to be like, okay, I'm good every night. I'm gonna go poop poop. And so I was putting it on religiously every single night in a way that I hadn't been before. And it actually started clearing up, and I was like, whoa. And then she was like, I'm really worried that once all your pimples are gone, you're gonna be prettier than me. And I was like, what? So are you saying the only thing holding me back right now is this acne?
Cause nothing holding me back.
Cause I'll never forget. I'm sure she doesn't even remember that, like as an adult, as like a 30-year grown woman, right? But like I've never forgotten that moment because it was so weird. What do you say to that? Like, what?
I'm trying to think of what we're like 15, 16.
Right. I was like a baby teen. What would I have said in that moment? Like I sometimes wish I was snappier with the comebacks, or like
I know, me too. I always feel like I wish yeah, definitely. But that is such an odd. It's definitely, now that we have the vocabulary, it's like definitely coming from a projection standpoint and from her insecurities. Obviously, it's very apparent now. But as like someone receiving that comment as a 15-year-old or 16-year-old, you're like.
I also like really thought I was so hideously ugly growing up that I couldn't fathom my acne being my gateway to significant beauty.
Clearing up my acne will make me the most beautiful girl in the world? How would have known? I
think one of my thoughts was like, I feel like there's some other stuff that needs to happen.
Apparently not for her, because she had her own insecurities, you know what I mean?
Right.
What? It's so crazy how people will, like, comments like that will stick with us for forever. Clearly. I just remember one time, I've never felt insecure about my teeth. I'm very grateful I never needed braces. But I remember a comment from one of my brother's classmates. He was like, oh yeah, the Buendias, they have beaver teeth. These guys? That's so rude.
I've never looked at you and thought you have beaver teeth.
Okay, I mean, me either, until my brother's classmate in junior high told me that the Buendias have beaver teeth, and I was like, wait.
I can't handle the level of insulting, but like, it's low-key hella funny.
Kids are so fucking funny and also very rude.
Yeah. It's a little savage. Like, you're the
okay, well, family. Let me just go build a dam over down at the river then, since I'm a fucking beaver. Jesus, like... I can't. Those are the comments that we'll always remember.
Yeah, that's going with you to the grave.
Yeah. You know?
Okay. This is a completely different episode topic now that I'm really thinking about it. Just like this idea of like glowing up and like growing up and like being a different person than you were back then.
I do have a nice segue for us to get onto topic is that this person never apologized and I'm obviously still hurt about it.
Right. Okay, so today we're talking about not acne, not face serums, not people talking about you, but we're talking about apologies.
We both are owed apologies.
Well, when we were planning this episode out and talking about like having said sorry to people and like that experience, I said to Melissa, wait, I don't think has anyone apologized to me? And I was like, maybe I just gotta go tell everyone I'm mad at them. See what happens.
La Toxica. Just text
Let me
everyone.
text the group then right now. I'm mad at you. Period. This is not a joke. Period. They'd still think it was a joke.
Let's see what happens.
Do I need to get mad at people more? Is that is that a thing? Like, am I too people pleasing that I'm like never gonna say that I'm mad at you?
Think so. Oh, this is a challenge. It's become a challenge for you. It's like, all right, no one's ever said sorry to me.
I'm gonna make them say sorry now. Well, I mean, I know that's not actually true. I'm being mostly facetious, but I can't think of a time in the past few years where someone has actually said sorry for something they've done to me. Am I just forgetting?
I feel like just between the two of us, I think we say sorry to each other all the time for various little things, but it's not like things that are deep like that, you know? It's not.
That's true.
Like, it's kind of like, oh, sorry, can we? I don't know. It's just kind of a
But that's
lame
not a
example.
real sorry.
That's what I mean. It's a lame
It's not.
example.
It's like, hey, I can't do this thing. I'm sorry. Can we do it blank? That's not. You didn't hurt my soul.
Hurt your feelings.
My feelings weren't destroyed by your actions.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good, I guess,
yeah.
that we haven't hurt each other like that. But
I'm gonna get a text message later, and Vanessa's gonna be like, "I'm mad at you."
I'm mad at you. Okay. Let me think about it. I feel like I have definitely tried to dole out an apology or two.
I think so.
Over the
I feel
past
like
few years.
you have done a lot of, at least we'll get to this later, but talking about like really sincere,
Yes.
thorough apologies for specific things that have happened recently, like not recently, I guess,
Yeah.
in the past couple of years, where you've made a conscious choice to like really be thorough about apologies.
Okay, but here's the thing. Yes, and I also feel like I could have very easily just been like, and you owe me an apology. And I think that was present, like that feeling of like, you should apologize to me too. Like, I cannot be completely in the wrong here. Maybe that still exists. I'm literally dealing with this in real time.
Yeah.
Hence the
We're
pausing.
processing. Yeah.
Processing.
I mean, I think that's part of the uncomfortable part is, okay, obviously apologizing in itself, coming from our perspective individually, being in a situation where I feel the need to apologize or want to apologize for something, that's already uncomfortable. But
Yes.
it's also uncomfortable when it's a two-sided apology situation where, okay, now I apologized. Isn't that
Do you have anything you want to say?
Anything you would like to share with me?
Yeah.
And then especially if they're like, nah, then it's
Well,
like,
now I'm
now
like,
we have
maybe
another
I-
issue.
Right, now that's a whole other issue.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking, maybe I didn't even really apologize. I don't know. We're gonna get into it. One thing I know that I wanted to get into was the idea of how do you apologize? And also, the big one for me is, what do you do when you feel like you've given the apology your best effort? And I don't mean you really tried your best, like you actually reflected and you put out the effort to talk to that person, like explain your situation and apologize to them, and then they still don't want to talk to you, or like you feel like how long is too long for it to be processing time versus like, I guess we're just not friends anymore.
Yeah, so the fact that you apologize, and they've accepted the apology, but they're still not necessarily hurt by it, maybe, but also apologies don't necessarily equate to or lead to everything being the same as it was prior to the incident that required an apology, is what you're saying.
And I don't even think sometimes that it has to be the same. I think sometimes it can be better, actually. Like, producer Liz and I, way back, had like a pretty big fight. And when I think about my part of it, I'm like, dang, that was kind of dumb. It was just really dumb and immature. And I'm not going to get into it because it's not the point of the episode. But like, essentially, over time, we found our way back to each other. But it did take time. And so I always remind myself about that. If I could go back now and just apologize early on and get over my own feelings, I totally would. But I mean, that's also like early 20s Vanessa versus like early 30s Vanessa, two very different people. So like it can get better, but I feel like sometimes it sucks because it feels like it doesn't get any better and it actually gets worse. I definitely feel like I've experienced that as well. I don't know if you have had a similar experience.
I mean, I think so. I think definitely early 20s Melissa has apologized for things, and it has changed relationships that I've had with people. And it's one of those things where I just had to learn to accept that the relationship is different now.
That's uncomfortable.
It is very uncomfortable, but also I think, what else could I have done on my end? I've done what I think is everything that I should have done to not necessarily fix the problem, but kind of do what I can to address it and apologize for it, and they will do what they will do with that information, you know what I mean? And it's not
what they will do.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily on me anymore in terms of at least that part. But yeah, I suppose it goes back to relationships being a two-way street, where it's like, we can't really force anybody to, whether it's for friendships, be BFFs again, or have that same level of friendship after something that impacted us that deeply happened, you know?
Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking about lots of times, like now, even with different people, friends apologizing to each other. And I guess it's like, what is the outcome that you want? And how far gone do you think it is? And part of it maybe is also like, how willing are you to put aside your own ego, maybe, and understanding of the situation? Like, how willing are you to accept that your reality isn't the only one, and that the other person's reality matters too?
Yeah.
And we gotta find the equal, or like the middle ground between those two things. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever, I guess you haven't, because you haven't really gotten anybody.
Have I ever?
Have you ever? Never have I ever received an apology? Because for me, when I've received an apology, sometimes it's still too fresh. And while I do appreciate receiving an apology, I'm not ready necessarily. I'm not over it, what happened. Like, I'm still down. Like, you kicked me down, and I'm still down here. I haven't even gotten up yet. I can't accept your apology, sir or ma'am. I'm still hurting down here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I actually didn't even think about this in the context of romantic relationships. I was actually only thinking about it in the context of friendships. Yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's different too. Like, it's very different to say sorry in a relationship versus a friendship.
Yeah. I don't
know.
I think it has its own unique uncomfortableness to it. But the example that keeps coming to mind is actually with family, with my siblings.
Well, that's different too.
Yeah, if you're a long listener of this podcast, I am a recovering people pleaser and planner galore of things for my family. There was one time where I had asked my siblings for support, and they did not provide me with the support that I was hoping that they would give me. Like, I was left unread, or like the responses were like very, very minimal and not helpful. And I usually am just like, whatever, I'll just carry the burden, the load, and then just bring it to the finish line. But this time I was like, no, I'm upset about this. It sucks that I have to feel this way, that I feel like I am the one that always has to have that mental load of planning X, Y, and Z for the family. So I was upset, and I felt emboldened this time to name that I was upset, and call out really the behaviors that made me upset. And both of them were like, oh shit. And then they were all of a sudden all on their phones texting me and saying I'm sorry. And you sent a reel just before we started recording of different ways to accept an apology is what it was, but not necessarily say
even
that
if it's not okay.
Even if it's not okay. And I was browsing through some of those options that were in the caption for that reel, and we'll reshare this reel. But It was interesting because I've used bits and pieces of each of them. I remember,
Really?
I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was essentially saying, thank you for the apology. I look forward to you stepping up next time when it comes to this kind of situation. Kind of,
Do better
yeah, do better basically, because I'm not going to say it's okay
when it's not.
when it's not, because usually I'd be like, oh, it's okay, it's fine, but it's
Yeah,
not
sure.
fine. I'm not fine right now.
angry.
I'm
Yeah.
angry. And so really, I think I might have Googled, like, how do I accept an apology, but also
funny.
expect, change when it comes to behaviors next time around. And so I remember sending that to them and them responding really nicely where they were like, yeah, we'll definitely stay on top of it next time. And I was like, all right.
I guess that's fine.
It's interesting because I just have always automatically just been programmed to say, oh yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. It's fine.
It's fine.
Well, here, let me read some of from the reel. So this is the reel we're going to share, and
Yeah.
it's 10 better ways to respond to an apology because it isn't actually okay. So here's a few of them. The first one is, thanks for apologizing. I'm still processing how I feel, but I appreciate you acknowledging it. I think I've used that, but without the I'm still processing part. I just think that I know I'm still processing, but like I know I'll get over it. In that case, it's like, okay, like thank you for acknowledging it. Okay, number 2, I'm not ready to move on yet, but I do want to get there.
I kind of like that one in terms of like romantic
Yeah.
relationships.
Right.
That's
Like
a good
I do
one.
want to get there, but I'm not ready to move on from this issue. Okay. 3, I accept your apology. I'd like us to talk about what needs to change going forward though.
I feel like that's the
made me
one.
laugh. It feels so corporate though, low-key. It's like, well, let's discuss what's going to change moving forward.
Honestly, sometimes I have to channel business work version of Melissa with some of these things because I am more
Really?
straightforward when it comes to work stuff. I've said this in the podcast before where I
Yes.
struggle more
With
with
the family stuff.
boundaries enforcing with family versus in
Yeah.
my work life. So sometimes I take my corporate Melissa
I'm work Melissa right now, and you've made work Melissa upset.
upset.
Okay, number 4 is I hear you and I'm not holding a grudge, but I do want to make sure things are different next time, which I appreciate. Number 5 is interesting, and I do want to talk about number 5. It says, thank you. I'm still feeling hurt and I need a little time before I can move past it. I'm going to circle back to number 5 because that's the
Okay.
one I want to get into. Number 6, I'm wanting to move forward, but I don't want to gloss over what happened. I guess maybe if you feel like the apology wasn't as like sincere, maybe. 7, thanks for saying that. I want to rebuild trust, and that takes more than just words. That one felt spicy.
Whew, that feels.
If someone said that to me, I feel like I'd be like, all right, well,
I think I would cry.
ready to fight.
I would cry. I just start crying. Well, I cry all the time. So.
It feels like fighting words, low-key, the tone
Yeah.
of that one.
Yeah.
But maybe that's my own trauma. Okay, 8. I appreciate the apology. I forgive you, but let's make sure this doesn't become a pattern. 9. That means a lot to hear. I want us to be okay. 10.
Aw,
I'm
I
glad
like that
you
one.
apologized. Me too. I'm glad you apologized. I don't need to keep rehashing it, but I do need to see change.
Okay. A lot of those were similar or overlapping in a way where it's accepting the apology, but also expecting change in behavior moving forward.
Yes. But I wanted to loop back to number 5 specifically because the whole thing of I need a little more time before I can move past it. I know that this is not just a me issue because I've talked about this with multiple people of how much time is too much time. And at what point does it become like, we're just maybe not going to have the same relationship, if any relationship, depending on the severity of your situation, right?
So you're saying from the perspective of you gave an apology for something. I guess it can go either way. I'm just trying to get a little bit more context. It's like, yeah, you gave an apology. This person told you, like, thanks for the apology. I accept it, but I need time
You need time to process, basically.
process. And what the question we're posing right now is how much time
How much
is
time
too much
is
time?
too much time? Yeah, because I've been given that response, and this is like oh my gosh, it's like years ago now. But like back then, the still growing version of me was working on giving people time, processing
Space,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that in previous seasons. And I've learned also that processing time is important, not just for others, but for myself to, get clear on my perspective and whatever. But at the same time, and I know that this is true for people who have talked to me about their own friendship issues, at what point is it just like, okay, well, maybe it seems like you don't want to be my friend?
I think what came up for me as you were sharing that was maybe it depends the amount of time that seems comfortable would depend on the kind of relationship or friendship that you had. So, how often were you seeing this person? How often were you hanging out or talking to this person on a normal basis before?
Wait, are you saying that like the do you feel like there's a correlation between
Yeah, so
long-term
like
friendship
let's
versus
say like
time?
you
Okay.
and I had a fight or something like that.
Okay.
We don't see each other in person all that often, but we do text and maybe and call, and we do this. Like we were like constantly in communication
Yeah.
on like a weekly basis at the minimum. And so I'm thinking, if we had some sort of fight that made us like I apologize to you and you're like I need space, I would think a couple weeks or at most a month, like
But that's what I'm saying.
of
Yeah, that's what I'm
time,
saying. And like we've been
processing
friends for
time.
years. So it's like
Yeah, because
like
we've been friends for years, and
uh-huh.
so for us to not have any sort of communication for a full month, knowing that you asked for that space,
I'd freak
after a
out and die.
month, that feels
I'd explode.
feels feels a little feels like what you're describing, like
No, but like this is a real thing, and people who like I've talked to about this, like they have situations where a person that they've known for a really long time, been friends with for years, they had a situation, apologies were given. Now, to be fair, maybe the other person does not think that your apology is sincere. Maybe your apology wasn't quote unquote enough for them. I don't, and that's why
okay, but then that's on them to communicate that what they heard from you
you're right.
was not enough for them. It's not for
You're
you
right.
to guess and assume and make these, yeah, to just have this guessing game of why aren't they friends with me anymore?
You're
Well,
so
if they
right.
felt that your apology for some reason or part of it was not enough for them, that is on them if they wanted to maintain the friendship to
Ooh,
share that
yikes.
with you, you know?
Okay, so let's circle back to that one because I know that one's gonna be hard to hear, and even me hearing it was like, ugh. What you just said of like it depends on them and if they care to maintain the friendship, if they care to sustain it or like whatever, because that's also a choice on their end. Like they could decide, actually, this is not necessarily a relationship I want to maintain. And while it would be nice if people communicated these things, I also think that in the space, it also becomes easier to not say anything because you're like, well, I haven't said anything for this long. I might as well, like, let's
Too
just,
late now or something like that. It's just kind of the
yeah, let me just
space
let it
breeds.
fade away
Yeah.
into obscurity, which is like a really shitty thing to do, but
Yeah.
I mean, it
When you
is what
said
it
fade
is.
away into obscurity, I just imagine you like,
Like that gif.
yeah, going into the bush. Yeah, that's what I thought. But yeah, no, that is pretty, it's true. Once you have like a month, let's say, again, I'm going back to the example of this hypothetical of me and you, going
Yeah.
a month without really touching base at all.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's kind of like, all right, well, guess we're never talking again.
So we're
I
never
can
talking again.
quickly snowball into that kind of thought process.
And Jillian says, who I haven't spoken to, and I need to hit her up. It's been like 2 months.
Wow.
I
Usually you
know.
you have fresh Jillian insights.
Insights, I know. I'm just relying on old Jillian insights that I think still stand the test of time, obviously. Some of the stuff she said to me years and years and years, and I'm just like, okay, 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 I'm trying. But she has said to the effect of that it doesn't have to be now or never, it can be later.
Yeah.
And it could also take lots and lots and lots of time for people to maybe organically flow back into your life. And then you can address it then. And maybe it's different at that time,
Yeah.
like how deep it is or close it is or whatever. And I'm like, dang, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, but it's always hard to hear that, especially if
Yeah.
it's a friend or a friendship that you held very dear and now that
Right.
it's
Well, because
different.
now you have to kind of like reconstruct your whole understanding of your relationship?
Yeah. Yeah.
Question mark?
Question mark? or lack thereof, or whatever.
Or lack thereof. Yeah, that's hard too. And I know we've all swapped stories about like people we've reached out to and like maybe it didn't go so well, or maybe it was like, okay, we're not talking anymore. But apologizing takes a lot of, I don't know, self-reflection, I guess I want to say. Because if you're trying to deliver a true apology, you can't just say like, I'm sorry that your feelings were hurt.
I'm sorry. And that leads us to our kind of the third point that I wanted to bring up in this conversation was, the difference between real, like a performative apology and a real, sincere apology.
Yeah.
And you say that I think apologizing takes a lot of courage and a lot of self-reflection, like you mentioned, because you're challenging your notions and beliefs that you're right in a situation, or you have to grapple with the fact that you fucked up in a situation, or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be that extreme, but to let go of ego in that sense sort of way is really hard for people.
It is
They may
hard.
not even realize that that's the part that they're struggling with. Like if someone has a hard time saying, I'm sorry, sometimes they don't even realize that it's their ego that's holding them back. I mean, I just think about like my parents sometimes, and just like that generation, that they'll stick to their stubbornness, their point, even though they
100%.
know that they're wrong sometimes.
There's a point of no return, I think, sometimes for people where they're like, oh, shit, I've been wrong and I've been saying I'm not wrong, and it's too late for me to go back and be like, I'm not wrong.
I'm doubling down on this.
Doubling down. Oh my God. I love watching it on Love is Blind. Oh my gosh. Ross was like, let's buy flags. So he wants to buy like green flags, orange, like yellow flags, and red flags. And we hold them in the air every time someone does something, which I think is a fabulous idea.
That's hilarious.
It is. But like, it's so interesting watching these people fight. And like, some people are really like good at putting their ego aside and just like, whatever, naming the thing that they did wrong and apologizing for it. And other people just really double the fuck down. They're like, nope, I am not wrong about this. And it's like, you really are though.
You're
like,
a Delulu.
You're Delulu, and it's Trululu. Like, but I don't know if they know that they're not wrong or that they're wrong and they just choose to double down, but it's a choice.
It's a choice. It's a choice. But yeah, I think it really does take a lot of courage to really give a sincere apology, and that's hard. I feel like I've been a recipient of insincere apologies, like apologies that felt like obligations.
Sure.
Where it's just like, oh, I'm sorry for this, and I'm like, okay, cool, but are you going to change though? Are you going to do better next time, though? And that's why I started adding those things at the end of saying, instead of saying, it's okay, or it's fine, after an apology that I receive, I start saying thanks, and looking forward to seeing what changes next time, or, something more eloquent than that. But it's like,
okay,
I feel like there's a lot of people that say sorry just to say sorry, and then don't plan on changing behavior at all. And I'm not saying that I'm right all the time. It's just that when I have experienced receiving apologies, it's sometimes I can tell they're insincere. It's just a thing to say it and get it over with.
On that note, I'm now remembering a very fresh story. That's not fresh. I'm freshly remembering an old story. We have a mutual friend who I think we had a kind of like a group distancing from, and I messed up. So there was a wedding that we attended all together, and I had a little too much to drink, and
as one does.
Early 20s us, right? And I think I had some things to get off my chest, and I of course drunkenly said some stuff that like I made the other person upset, and I think I chose an incorrect, opportunity to express those things, because the alcohol, decreased my inhibition, so to speak. I don't even really remember everything that I said, but the next morning, the comment was kind of like, oh, like, I think there's some things you might not remember what you said. And to be fair, I remembered most of it, but there were a couple of things I didn't remember really saying. And I was like, ooh, that was fucked up. So we had arranged to have a conversation about our feelings, and I'm going to stand by this, I think it takes a lot of guts for someone to be able to say, hey, when you did this, it really made me feel blank. Like to name the issue, to name that you're upset in a constructive way. That takes a lot of courage. And I think a lot of people find it much easier. And I'm dealing with this at work too. Like a lot of people find it easier to get mad at the person and assume the worst and then complain about it and then just be upset when the other person might not even know they did anything wrong. Or sometimes it just takes you calling them out on it for them to be like, okay, I guess I did do that. So anyway, I was like, all right, I should have done that. Looking back in time now, I should have just been like, hey, I've been noticing this behavior and it's making me think or feel blank. But I didn't. I just let it build up and then exploded. Anyway, so we had this whole conversation. I remember it was so crazy. Like we scheduled it I was like flying to San Diego for some reason. And so we scheduled a time to talk on the phone about it when I landed.
I think I remember.
And oh my God, it was just so crazy because I kind of wish that because I got a semi-apology back. And I remember the thing that frustrated me the most was that I was finally taking the effort to like name the thing that was making me upset. And I remember the response at the time was, well, I just took it as like a test from the Lord for my patience. Like I felt like the Lord was testing me to be a more patient friend. And I was like, that's interesting, considering I never knew that I was doing anything for you to be patient with in the first place. But that's like, okay. And we've barely spoken, but also okay, like whatever. Looking back now, I do wish I had been more explicit about naming what I felt needed to change, because what I think I said at the end of that conversation was like, okay, apologize both ways, right? But like, and I would hope that you would reach out to me more or like text me more when it's not just like a procedural group situation, or like if you do think to text me, like if I come to mind and you organically think to text me. And the funny thing is, I tried to uphold my end of that bargain, and I remember shooting out a text and getting one back. And then later on, I tried again and I never got a response. So I was like, okay, in that case, I was like, well, that's a clear sign, I think, of like, we had named the next steps, like in those apologies to the things that we had just said. We named the next steps of like, I want things to be better. Here's how it can be better. But ultimately, it takes both people to try.
It's two to tango, yeah.
And so in that situation, I haven't spoken to this person since. And that's okay. It's been years.
I had with this same friend, I had a similar conversation and it kind of went similarly, where it's like, okay, well, I think I apologized and I think she may have apologized. I honestly don't really remember hearing an apology, but I think it was mostly on my standpoint because I felt like I needed to apologize and I wanted to apologize for whatever the situation was. But at the end of it, there was really no like
next steps
in terms of, okay, or any one of us really communicating that we wanted to continue to have conversation and friendship like that. At least, yeah, from what I remember from her standpoint, it was very much like, okay, cool, thanks for saying that. And then I was like, oh, okay, well,
the Lord was asking her to be patient with you as well. So,
and I think I remember a point in time during those maybe 5 years, but like towards the end of college and a little bit after, where I was very much about accepting that relationships and friendships are just like meant to change and are not always meant to stay the same. And I think our friends were at various different points of accepting that. And I remember being at a point once or twice where you were the one that was like, but we need to stay together. And I was like, girl.
That was my hardcore stance. It was like, we need to stay together.
And I was like, girl, it's a lot to carry. It's a lot.
Yeah, you were like, no. Well, I think it's
because I understand both ways, but it does take a lot of effort.
Well, I think you had already tried. And so for you to try and not see any really results was hard. Mm-hmm. And then I think all of us were at various stages of trying to build the bridge. Anyways, in that case, apologizing was very difficult. And sometimes I think we also want an apology from that person and we don't really get one back. Whether it's because they don't think they did anything wrong necessarily, or because we haven't been clear on what we felt like we deserved an apology for. It's hard. I don't know, being okay with this discomfort, it's like acceptance.
It is an
maybe?
acceptance kind of thing. I know that that's not what people want to hear.
No.
It's like, how do we be more comfortable with this? I think it's one of those things where we just have to accept it. Especially when I think it might even be harder to be the one that dished out the apology and then it just not being the same after that.
Yes.
That
And
might-
I know one of the things in the comments of that suggestion was think about if it was you, what would you need? And while I do see how that could be helpful, it is also hard to use that because you might say, oh, well, if it was me, I would get over it right after the apology. Or, oh, if it was me, I might need some processing time, but I would reach out to the person. But that's like not really helpful because you're not the other person.
Yeah.
There's no actual way for you to know what the other person needs or doesn't need.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That is
hate that
hard.
advice.
Hate that advice. Not for me. Not taking that one.
No.
This one is one of those things where I think as long as you feel like you've done what you can on your end
Yes.
to whatever it is, apologize, repair, whatever it is, name the thing that was bothering you,
Yes.
then that's all that you can really ask
Can
of
do.
yourself. You can't really healthily, in my opinion, try to assume how the other person received that,
Yeah.
because then you're just gonna spiral.
The best you can do is apologize in a sincere way. And I guess the next best thing that you could do is name the thing of like, hey, I feel like it's been a while since we had that conversation and it feels like things have changed. Am I reading that correctly? But that also takes like you have to commit to that. Like that's a whole other conversation.
I guess, yeah, step one, if you're the one apologizing, apologize sincerely with
Yeah.
some self-reflection, and then have an action item for yourself to help make that change after that apology, and then do a one check-in if it's still weird after that,
it's still weird,
if it's
yeah.
still weird, because sometimes it's not. But if there is some sort of awkwardness or tension afterwards, maybe put it on your little list to just reach out and see and check in, and if it doesn't go anywhere from there, then reevaluate.
And having been someone who has tried the check-in and feeling like, or extending the olive branch after and being like, ooh, doesn't seem like that was appreciated, then, I mean, you kind of just got to accept that you tried and let the other person do what they got to do and process however they got to process.
And what Jillian said is it may not happen now. It may not, but it doesn't necessarily mean never. So again, just reminding yourself of that, because it is hard to accept.
Yeah.
But you also have to give yourself grace because you did what you needed to do. And you
Okay, so if you're looking for an action item for yourself to help it feel more okay, I think something you could try to do is journal and ask yourself, like, what have I learned from this experience? What am I grateful for that still exists in my life? And like, what are some things that I can learn about either myself or the way that I operate moving forward so I can be a better friend or, person in the other relationships that I have currently in my life. I learned a lot. I mean, all of these experiences have always taught me something more, and I'd like to think that I try to then be a better, more understanding friend because of these situations that might have happened.
Yeah.
Like me saying earlier today, like, you have to be able to accept that your reality isn't the only reality. Like, it's a big deal. And I think that's something I've gotten, like, much better at over the past, like, decade. Ew.
Growth, change.
Because that would only put me at 23, and I was definitely thinking, like, 20. And then I was like, that's over a decade. Now I'm uncomfortable. We have to go.
Okay, well, and then on that note, if you aren't following us on the platforms that we podcast on, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever it is, YouTube, if you are not following us on whatever those platforms are, you should follow us. There's a lot of good things we post on Instagram quite often on these clips, and also share resources that we find that are related to these topics that we talk about. So if you want to connect with us, definitely follow us on Instagram. And if you're feeling extra generous, you should rate us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and leave us a little comment, because that helps us. Appreciate that. It helps our show. And lastly, last thing that I'll plug, since we're officially in the fall season, we have merch. And because we're
We
in
do.
season, we have some hats, we have sweaters, perfect for this cozy sweater weather that we're transitioning into. Hopefully, California's a little warm still, but you know, we're getting there. But yeah, we have everything 11% off because we are celebrating season 11. Go to our Instagram bio, everything is linked there, and we will see you next week. Want more of the I'm Uncomfortable podcast? Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at I'mUncomfortable.podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our Facebook group, the I'm Uncomfortable Club, to gain early access to our episodes and exclusive content. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.